And traditionally, cacao grows in a very rich environment, which is the rainforest. There's not many richer environments, one because of the biodiversity, and two because of the intensity of the elements in tropical places, that there is a very rich soil. There's a lot of turnover and composting within the soil. There's so much biomass there that inevitably, unless all the trees are cut down there, the soil is brilliant, so the foods are very rich. So that's one of the reasons why cacao and so many of the foods from areas like the Amazon and tropical areas are very rich. And when we take this inside our body, for instance, it's very rich in those chemicals, anandamide, phenylethylamine, and one amino acid called tryptophan. Has anyone heard of tryptophan? Yes. Okay, tryptophan, people are learning about it more now. It's quite some reasonable amounts in pumpkin seed, in turkey in its raw state, which is one of the reasons why people have a slightly altered state at Christmas, apart from the fact they stuff their face, and all the other bits that go along with it. And anyone heard of durian here? I guess most people haven't, probably, although it's becoming more and more well known. It's a tropical fruit that grows in Southeast Asia. It's also one of the highest things in tryptophan, other than chocolate. So what happens with the tryptophan in chocolate, and raw chocolate especially, because tryptophan is, most of the chemicals in many foods are very sensitive to heat, and tryptophan is very sensitive to heat. So when we're having raw cacao, the tryptophan is there, and that tryptophan is a very important part of our well-being makeup on a biochemical level, on a vibrational level, because that tryptophan transforms into another substance called 5-HTP, which is available in some health food stores, and people take it to help balance their neurochemistry and help them have a balance between waking and sleep states. And then the higher levels of that substance from 5-HTP up are all illegal, in England anyway. In America you can buy the next level up, which is called melatonin. Everyone's heard of melatonin, right? It's connected with our, again, our consciousness and our sleep patterns and awareness in those ways. And then higher than that, it transforms eventually into a biochemical, maybe some of you have heard of, called DMT, dimethyltryptamine, which a book was written on about 15 years ago called The Spirit Molecule. And it's been most closely equated to by scientists to what it's been named the God chemical, the God particle. It's that biochemical in the human body has been most closely linked to mystical states of awareness. Not just mystical states of awareness, but psychic intuition, visions, and the kind of states of awareness that we're more aware of when we're children. That heightened awareness and that guidance is extremely valuable for us because it gives us great feedback. It allows us to feel very allied with all the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom and the spirit kingdom of the world, all the elements. So, the traditional people of South America that used and treated cacao as a very sacred substance did so for the reasons that by partaking in chocolate to eat and chocolate drinks and in chocolate ceremonies, they would use it as a food to nourish themselves on many levels. One of the names it was known as is heart blood, because it nourished the heart. So known as a heart medicine, nourished the circulatory system on a very nutritional level, as well as obviously the loved up feeling that chocolate can give many people. Apart from that, many of its other uses, it was used as currency by the Mayan people and the Aztecs. This was their money. These beans are what they measured as their currency. It was that valued. It was their equivalent of gold in many ways. Of course they had gold too, but this was a currency that was a living currency. It was a currency that couldn't be hoarded. Greed couldn't exist. You couldn't just keep all your cacao beans to yourself and eat them all and get fat and sick. And, you know, they would go moldy. You had to keep them alive and in circulation. They were part of an organic currency, and we had that all around the world in many ways, much more in the past. Particularly, we can think of Europe. What was their currency 1,000 years ago, at least Mediterranean? It was really the olive and the olive oil. And all the products that came from olives, it was very much treated like the equivalent of gold or money in Europe. And chocolate was the equivalent in South America. And people used it in many ways that we use it here, but in the variations on that, it wasn't always mixed with, it definitely wasn't mixed with pasteurized milk and refined white sugar and stuck in ovens to bake for 400 degrees for days on end and then mixed with other chemicals. They more or less just ground it up and made it into hot chocolate with spices and a few other superfoods. Probably didn't call them superfoods at that time, we just